Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At first glance, this bill seemed to be one which, all things being equal, should have been quite straightforward. The bill amends the Policing Act 2008, the purpose being to remove the current restriction in the 2008 Act that does not allow police employees to stand in local body elections. If successful, then the bill will enable all police employees to stand in local body elections without being placed on leave, and if they are elected, they will not have to resign from their jobs as police employees. When we initially read over the bill, the Māori Party thought that it was fair enough that the police be treated like any other employee and qualify for the opportunity to stand in local body elections. But then two central concepts came into view: the current context and public perception. Today is hardly the best day to be considering the issue of public confidence in the New Zealand Police. Let me count the ways. First count, DNA. Firstly, in the heat of the debate generated by my colleague Hone Harawera's claims around the undue pressure brought upon Māori youths to submit DNA samples to the police, criminal lawyer Graham Newell has also spoken up about concerns he shares. Mr Harawera has been supporting a number of youths and their families to take appropriate action by referring their complaints through to the Independent Police Conduct Authority. The basis of the complaint is that these rangatahi, under the age of 17, have been persuaded by the police on the pretence that it might help to identify their relatives or be stored on the chance that they were killed and needed to be identified. Mr Newell then came forward saying that he knew of a case where a police officer had offered a boy a cigarette in return for a DNA sample. Second count, police pursuits. The second issue to take the headlines in the last 24 hours is a meeting that the Minister of Police, Judith Collins, had with Police Commissioner Howard Broad to discuss police recommendations for vehicle pursuits after two separate reviews. The urgency of investigating the proper procedures around police pursuits came tragically into view through the death of Christchurch man Troy McKay, who died on Sunday when his car hit a tree following a pursuit by the police. New Zealand now has the unfortunate record of having lost 7 lives, gone through the course of being pursued by the police. Of course, one can never ignore the need for the police to intervene when it is evident that offending is taking place, whether that be on the road or in leaving a criminal scene. But when we're talking about a government agency, we must be painstakingly clear that the protocols and policies that form their operational procedures are adhered to, rule by rule. We understand that 2 separate reviews have been undertaken into this situation, one by the Independent Police Conduct Authority and the other one an independent review conducted by the New Zealand Police. The reports have invited further questions about whether it is appropriate for police to initiate high-speed chases for minor offences such as speeding, property theft or suspicion of crime. It is a debate that we need to have as we consider the right balance between preservation of justice and preservation of life. The nation has lost 7 young men in as many months, the youngest 22, the oldest 38. Let not their lives be in vain. Third count, sexual misconduct. The final piece of evidence stacking up the odds is yesterday's release by the Auditor-General of its second monitoring report on recommendations by a 2007 Commission of Inquiries into Police Conduct. Mr Speaker, the letter from Philippa Smith, Deputy Controller and Auditor-General, spelt out clearly why the police force must work hard and implement the cultural changes they suggest is critical after an inquiry into allegations of sexual misconduct by police. The inquiry, we recall, was established after several allegations of sexual misconduct against police officers, and it recommended extensive cultural change in the force. Ms Smith said, and I quote, "The benefits of change include the public having confidence in the integrity and conduct of the police. Public confidence is essential for effective policing. But there was another worrying line in the release from the Auditor-General's office, and that was the revelation that progress would stall unless more concerted effort was put into making them work. One of the key recommendations from the report is that the police as an organisation must value and use external views on police culture and behaviour by, for example, obtaining more feedback on police officers' behaviour and service delivery through community engagement and learning more from complaints information. I believe that all these three areas of current controversy, DNA, police pursuits and sexual misconduct, cannot be ignored when we come to this bill. But there is a broader context too, and that is the long-standing history of police responsiveness to Māori. I want to acknowledge here the absolute commitment that I know the police are making to improve their performance in this regard. We recognise the valuable role that almost 50 iwi Pacific ethnic liaison officers in the police play in helping to create purposeful relationship building with iwi and Māori social service providers. We acknowledge too the quality of police projects involving partnership with iwi and community agencies to specifically address Māori offending and victimisation. But although the gap in perception is reducing, we cannot forget that trust and confidence in police is lower for Māori than for the general population. Countless reports have demonstrated that Māori feel alienated from police and criminal justice agencies. What the research frequently concludes is that a key reason for this lack of responsiveness is that often there is a perception that individuals within the police lack knowledge of and sensitivity to Māori values, culture, history and beliefs. I want to stress that what we are often talking about is perception, but as all politicians know only too well, perception is everything. And so when we come to this policing bill, we must be mindful of the impact of perception. The Māori Party has thought long and hard about this issue, and we have greatly appreciated the way in which the Minister has responded to all of our queries about the effect of this bill. We fully understand that any police employees who decide to stand for local authority elections and those that are subsequently elected will still need to abide by police internal policies that may be in place. We also accept that any such employees must abide by the Code of Conduct, which sets out that where employees participate in political matters in a personal capacity, they must not bring themselves into conflict with their primary role as police employees. This is all well and good on paper, but when it comes down to the wire, we return to the impact of the current context and of public perception. And quite frankly, when we talk to our constituency, no matter how wonderful the local community COP may be, the perception of police in general is adversely impacted by long-standing views about the reputation of the police, views which are not helped any by the events I mentioned earlier on. Finally, we were prepared as a party to support this bill to Select Committee, but because of the decision to take this bill through urgency, we will have to oppose the bill at every reading. We remain convinced that issues of perception inherent in this bill really must be put to the test of public opinion through the Select Committee process. Thank you.